Usually team fights as well is something that's going to work well for them. We'll see how enough it is against KC here today, and of course the Nidalee is off the table here.
Yeah, already taken out. I wonder if we will see the Naafiri. I want to get your opinion on this, Larsen, because you haven't picked Naafiri a single time, and it was really popular in the beginning, but now it kind of fell off completely.
You did get nerfed a couple of
times. Did get nerfed as well.
I mean, it's just not a competitive champ. It shouldn't be a competitive champ, right? Like those champs are generally like never just a competitive champ, and if they are a competitive champ, that means they're like completely broken and will get nerfed instantly.
Yeah, like
which is what happened. Like,
yeah, it's exactly
what happened. Nerfed and then got hotfixed a day later.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not sure. I don't think it's a competitive champ.
Yeah.
I think only those like Zed and Naafiri, those type of champs are only competitive if they're like really broken, which is usually only for one patch.
I mean, it makes sense. Usually we will see the Maokai, the Vi, the Sejuani, the Skarner, the classics, but right now all of them are up and available for the team.
Naafiri is open, so let's see if it does get picked.
I think we might see a Maokai or something. That seems to be the classic.
I think the prior will go down because you do need this plug and play jungler. I feel like Maokai is the flavor of the patch right now. What do you think? What do you feel like is super prio now? Obviously, without leaking too much from.
I didn't really pay attention to the draft.
No, that's fine. I mean, it does go with what you said, right? You just do your own thing. You just play your solo queue. You don't talk so much. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's own brand. Zyra first pick. Wow. We haven't seen this champion in a while, right? How is it internally in scrims? Because I feel like this champion used to be super popular in winter, and now it's not really so much. But maybe now with all the hotfix nerfs coming to the junglers, it starts becoming a little bit more.
Yeah, so the thing is, Zyra is the champ I have no clue about because we perma-banned it week 1 and even in scrims. But this week we opened it and they didn't pick it, right? Because we didn't think that had to pick it, so we opened it. So actually I have no clue about the champ because I haven't seen it in scrims. It's like it doesn't exist for me.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, it kind of fits 1-3 style of this really high, fast and clearing jungler that can like kind of be first on objectives and kind of make it really annoying
I also
to get in.
think BDS likes AD mids a lot, so I think they are some first AP angler in AD mid. Like Nidalee is banned, so they just go to the next AP angler.
Yeah, makes sense. And we see the Maokai as a response, which is the classic. Yike does like the trees.
Yeah, friend of the forest.
Yeah.
What you would expect. And Kalista, I mean, we know how good Caliste is with this champion. Usually it's banned out most of the time. I feel like Kalista has been open a bit more end of last week and this week as well. I want to see what's going to happen with this champion. What's on second rotation for BDS here? What do you want to knock?
We do need some engaged support. I definitely think that the comp from BDS needs a little bit more space making. I think Ashe is a great pickup, coupling it with a melee support just so this way you have a lot of skirmish power, you have a lot of tools to be playing around bot lane, and Zyra has this sort of prio lane that can always make things happen around. I also think KC's adaptation so far compared to last week has been good because we did see that horror game with Ivan Elise that I felt like there was no front line and not really any sort of playmaking. Yeah. I'm surprised for this.
I think what they're scared of is actually if they pick an engage support, the Renata on free will kind of make that lane really hard to play, and I think they just don't want to hold. But they're going to have to blind no matter what, even if they pick the Gnar here. So they're kind of just prolonging their demise in that way. The Gnar, I guess, is the safest blind, they think, and they really... I mean, it's irrelevant. It's like one of his best champions. I think it's just pure comfort.
I guess it is pure comfort, but at the same time, it does invite counterpick from Canna, which I feel like he's always been doing good in this position. But I do guess that at one point you would be having to pick this blind pick top. It just was not the best one, and I think it might be just because it's such a huge comfort from Irrelevant, and maybe other champions like Jax would be having a lot more counterplay.
But I see it's very difficult to drop AD mid. Like, if you drop mid there when you pick Zyra, you really want an AD mid. And Jace is already out, and now you can actually ban 2 AD mids if you want from KC. Does Nuke actually have that deep of a pool to go
I think so. He likes to play out of AD mids. Like I saw in solo kill playing out of Lucian.
Oh, Lucian is back.
Maybe. I'm doubtful, but I mean, there's still Jon, Tristana, Lucian, I think, for him. Yeah, I'm not sure if I missed one, but like, I also think when you have Gnar, you have like good AD damage, you could go AP, even though it's like less optimal.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, as long as you have free, that is like the big thing.
Yeah, exactly. And now the Jon and Tristana is going to be open. One of them is going to be open because, as we said, KC identifies that BDS really needs engaged support, and they're starting to ban out. I'm expecting maybe a Nautilus or even a Leona ban from here, just because it synergizes so well with Ashe. And the Renata is already taken out.
Yeah, I think it's really clever to take out Renata because that is the hardest thing to run into as an engaged support. You can basically never fight in lane, and you kind of relegated to just being an engaged bot in team fights, so it doesn't even end up that well for you. So now it allows Parus to have a little bit more freedom in lane and outside of it as well.
It just feels so weird now. With Yone being out, I feel like even if BDS finds the sort of AD champion on mid with the Tristana, it feels like you're having so much range and squishiness on the side of BDS that K-Corp has an easy time, you know, just diving with the Maokai, diving with the Ambessa. So I feel like even if you get this you know, synergistic composition where it ticks all the boxes that you'd like, it still feels a little bit suboptimal.
Yeah, I think Casey just has a great plug-and-play comp. They have so much comfort across the board, very solid lanes here. Picking the silence on 4 would be risky. We shouldn't really talk about hovers, but the Taliyah is going to get locked in for Vladi.
What do you think of this Taliyah, Larson?
I think Taliyah is really strong. I think it's good with Maokai, so I think it's just like what they should pick here. So
yeah, good combo execution, strong 2v2 mid. It allows them to move around the map and execute plays. And now, what do you think is BDS' answer to this Taliyah would be?
I mean, I think he'll go Tristana, but I don't think it's too easy to pick here. I feel like they should go like Tristana, Leona. That would be my bet. For sure.
It would fix the team comp, yeah. So Leona, hopefully, okay, Leona's coming through, and yeah, definitely I think it would be. We can still go AP mid, but what would be open? Victor is out.
Is it like Orianna or something for Nuke?
I just feel like it's a little bit anti-synergistic, so I feel like it might just go for another marksman and just pray for the best here.
Yeah, you're kind of running into Merc Fred's value to the max as well if we can AP mid here, so I feel like you have to pick some kind of AD carry.
I think of Ashe.
Oh, the Larson lead.
So we were just talking about it, there you go.
Oh, it's actually locked in. Mid lane Lucian.
How is this matchup looking like? Because it does feel like Taliyah would still be getting cryo, and it's a little bit hard to find good trade openings as Lucian, Larson.
I don't think this will be an easy game for Lucian. I think it will actually be pretty hard against enemy comp. So let's see if it pulls it off. I think it's going to be hard.
The only win condition I see for BDS now is just having strong lanes and pushing hard so that the Zyra can be looking to do solo invades or just out-tempoing the Maokai. Because for me, when I look at most of the skirmishes that are happening, I don't really see them as winning, so I don't really see a lot of win conditions from BDS outside of just the Zyra being able to abuse through proper lane power.
Yeah, a lot of is on 1-1-3 shoulders here. He really has to make the Zyra first pick work because he cannot put himself or his team in this position where they have to draft around him. So he really has to show that he can actually carry with his Zyra and make things happen in the early game, because otherwise, if it comes to these 5v5 team fights, I really think Casey is favored heavily.
I definitely think so. I think they get very outscaled BDS. I think Ashe, Lucian, they just don't scale too well. So they definitely have to make something magic in early game.
Time to shine in the early game for BDS, facing off against the first 10 finalists. Let's see if they can make it happen. Casters, over to you.
Thank you so much, Laure, Larson, and his 2 ex-boyfriends, top laners is what I meant. Yeah, we're getting into game. I think the desk highlighted it so beautifully for us, Mr. Spectra. I'm Drakos, Jackspectra. It's all eyes on this jungle, and especially this jungle mid, because there's some volatile champions. 1-1-3, no stranger to playing that carry role, but a lot of pressure on him to show up in this matchup to bring home the win for BDS.
Yeah, I'm really happy that BDS are continuing to put 1-1-3 on carries. I think in this matchup, when 1-1-3 is on this Zyra, what you really want to try to do is abuse her crazy fast clear speed. You want to be able to build up a camp lead and just keep those camps rotating so you eventually get to a point where you've just kind of generated so much tempo that you can either gank somewhere or just have a crazy CS lead.
Good goal to shoot for, but a tough task. Casey and BDS both coming off of very close series, very messy series, I think it's safe to say, but based on the performance last split, Casey still, we would expect to be heavy favorites in the context of this matchup.
For sure, and one of the difficulties of trying to snowball in this jungle matchup for 1-1-3 is the fact that Casey's laners are very good. So if you, for example, have winning lanes as the Zyra, you can just go bot lane, you can go mid lane, put down the plants and poke them out. But if your lanes are losing, you don't really have much gank threat. If a Zyra comes from behind you, it's like, okay, I'll just run away, right? So she's really obnoxious when the winning team is able to just continue poking, but can be quite useless when behind.
Yeah, it is kind of the struggle of a champ like this. It was similar when Brand was in meta as well. These AD junglers can be so oppressive, but when they're useless, man, they are really useless.
Yeah, very little like personal agency and gank setup.
Yeah. So just a quick update. Players are already conducting ready checks, which means whatever was going on has likely been quickly resolved. However, if there are any other updates, you'll see them either at the bottom of the screen or I will verbally say them. And you can see now, bottom of the screen said game resuming shortly. I can see in-game, the game is resumed.
Are you ready, Drakos?
You know, I thought I was, and then we have Lucian mid lane, which I was certainly not prepared for.
You know, it's funny how Larson said it. It sounded like he said Lucian. You know how people put the loose and then...
Yeah, loose.
Yeah, like Lucian.
No, this is going to be a
win, Shen?
This needs to be a pretty, tight Lucian performance here, I think, if he wants to win.
He did get buffed. He got a little E cooldown buff recently, which could be one of the reasons that they decided to pick him up. Does have a very good early game, but as the desk stated, he does fall off quite fast. However, in this draft, I think his ultimate has a decent value. The only thing is the Braum shield that can block a lot of it, but other than that, if he can get that onto the Kalista or the Taliyah, he can do quite a lot.
Maybe chunk someone out before the fight starts.
Oh, we got a little bot lane shenanigans here, maybe.
Always a little bit tough trying to all in against Kalista and certainly against Braum in the early levels, but Ice just going for a bit of poke. See who's able to get to level 2. I don't think we expect a lot from this bot lane though, right? Mostly just a battle about pressure. Maybe some all-ins if junglers show up, but I think much more likely that mid is where the attention goes.
For sure. I think bot lane is mostly about the level 1 volatility. How Caliste and Targamas can choose to play it is make it very chill. While if they decide to just fist fight, it can, a lot of things happen, but usually just Kalista can get that push due to how fast she pushes with the Rend. Ashe tries to get in a few autos here and there, but just loses the push. But then it's this mid lane. I don't know how Lucian actually fares up against this matchup at all. I haven't seen Lucian in such a long time. But I do remember he was quite the lane bully back when he was so prevalent.
Yeah, I mean, we can theory craft it to a certain degree. You know, you can see how Lucian could outplay the individual 1v1. The problem is, in the context of mid-jungle, it's very easy to see, regardless of the opposing champion, exactly how Taliyah kills people.
Yeah, the thing is, when I think of this matchup, I think of it a little bit like this. Lucian wants to dash in, but you're playing against Taliyah, who loves if people dash in. So I'm curious to see if Nuke can outplay this matchup and actually make the pick worth it, but in my head, it doesn't really make that much sense.
Yeah, and there's definitely a lot of pressure on Nuke to perform, right? Not only has he been, last year, one of our top mid laners, but this year, kind of bearing more of the burden of leadership on this team needs to be a strong point on the map for BDS. And going up against Vladi, you know, it's definitely not an easy feat. This guy was an absolute monster in winter.
The golden child.
The golden child. Yeah, and for good reason, right? I think the last guy, or the first guy in a long time to make Caps really, really sweat.
Hopefully not the last guy.
And hopefully not the last guy. We'll see if he can maintain that, but already not off to too bad of a start. You saw the earlier trades working out well. But for now, the lane's still in close contention. No jungle lead for 113 yet. Actually a little bit behind Yike in terms of overall clear, but he will finish with the scuttle quite quickly.
I mean, so he ended up full clearing towards bot and then passing through mid and giving Nuke a little push out here, so he gets a free reset, so that's why he was a little bit behind this Maokai. And then he's just going to resume back into a full clear here.
Pressure on bot lane. Only 4 minutes. Next minute, we'll see if we get a swap up to top side to maybe try and play for the grubs.
Has been a classic that our teams have been liking.
I think it's just, you know, sometimes you just want to be out of that 2v2.
Yeah.
And if you got the push,
are just a lot of time pretty
and also,
strong.
It feels like the best use of your push in bottom lane, too, oftentimes, is irrelevant. Getting a little bit more aggressive. Canna continuing to dive his way out of this one. Nice sidestep on the house. And we know some of the hardest points in the game for Ambessa are those first few levels, those early levels. Canna not opting for a defensive rune like Fleet, like Grasp, just for a bit of extra healing. Instead, going for the Electrocute. So when he does tick over to level 6, he's going to have a lot of kill pressure.
Yeah, and when this Ambessa starts to get some items and get a little bit more fed, she's playing against 4 squishy champions. I mean, the Gnar, especially when he's mini, is going to be pretty squishy as well. So whoever that ulti hits is probably going to be a kill.
Something they're going to have to play around. It'll be tough too. All of KC having their moments at first stand. Irrelevant though, this is one of his most comfortable champions, I think, alongside the Jax and the Renekton. Really keeps his pool to those iconic top lane options. Yike will use his bot pressure and mid pressure to essentially start dragging for free. Has the luxury of an additional little sentinel in the brushes there from Kalista, from Caliste.
Yeah, so he's skipping his wolves and his Gromp here just to try to get this Drake on this timer. I think BDS could try to contest, but then they'll have to fight after the Drake goes down. It looks like they're posturing for it.
Walking up anyway, at least getting a bit of vision. Very late decision to contest. Not a lot of certainty there.
It's too difficult when Nuke is still pushing that mid wave in. If he could push that a little bit faster, then maybe they could look to contest here, but it's just going to be a free Drake going over to KC.
And this is something you mentioned earlier on, right? The Zyra, combined with pushing lanes, can feel like an incredibly oppressive champion, but the enemy team is winning push. It's really hard for her to get active, for her to get involved, and you saw that there where 113, Parus, Ice, waiting to see if they have an angle into the pit. Ultimately, they don't. And for KC, a team that we heard from Larson, from Odo, from Finn, from Laure, look, like the scaling pretty clearly favors them. So every Drake you can get early game feels like a huge win.
Yeah. It is at least going to be the grubs picked up for BDS, but it does feel pretty underwhelming. as you said, when you're the Zyra and your best play is to just walk into a lane and throw down some plants, and that's really all you can do. But for me, I'm very curious to see in this game the KC bot lane. Oh, no, we got a fight.
That's the public execution. Canna trying to dash out, flash out the wall just short. Gnar now coming through. 1-1-3 full committing for the dive. But the ulti is there, and that's first blood.
It's just a mistake from Canna. He knows that 1-1-3 is on the Void Grubs, but he still goes for the 1v1 against Irrelevant. And that's going to be some plates going over for Irrelevant combined with that 3 Grubs.
That's going to be massive. Look, 500 individual gold lead, as well as Canna was doing it, keeping pressure close, keeping gold close. That is a huge fumble. We know what happens when Gnar can start to snowball ahead in these side lanes.
He has no TP as well, so the wave is going to be slow pushing back into Irrelevant. And now he has no flash and no ulti. 1-1-3 could choose to full clear all the way back down to bot lane, and then recall, open back into top side, maybe try to leverage this top lane push and control.
And this is big, getting some value out of that Zyra jungle, punishing Canna for being over-eager. Finally a strong point for BDS to play it around here. See if that will continue to snowball as you highlighted. Yeah, can't clear down to the bottom side. Kalista ticking over to level 6. Some room for playmaking. Ice does have the cleanse. Won't stop the knock-up, of course, from the Kalista ultimate, the Fate's Call. But some defensive utility. And in the meanwhile, the mid lane that we are so hyped for, kind of chill.
Yeah. But what you can see, that's interesting, is how much faster Zyra is. She's already on the Krugs here. Oh.
Pulling. Did I just catch or curse that?
Yeah, immediately.
Sorry, KC fans.
Vladi doesn't have TP yet, but I don't think Nuke can do anything with Maokai in the vicinity, unless he wants to try to trade for a 1-for-1.
Is he going to get over-eager? Looks like he will just back away, I think big. We've seen a lot of situations in the past 2 weeks where when you're playing those early to mid-game champions that feel like they can spike really hard early, you just try to do a little too much. As the Zenith Blade going wide. Pretty massive mistake from Parus. Seems small, but the Zenith Blade in would have gotten at least a few more sums. Likely sets up 1-1-3 to be there first on the play.
Yeah, and it feels bad when you're not able to combine the CC with that Leona engage. It is, however, the cleanse and the heal being used by Caliste and Targamas. Ooh, but we might have another fight here.
Ice continuing to poke. 1-1-3 still here. That's the ulti going out, but I don't think they're in a great position to body block it. Parus has to flash back. Ice who body blocks, a little bit of poke back.
Great patience by Ice there. Doesn't burn the cleanse. Knows he's in no real danger. And it's not really going to be... I mean, it's going to be the flash invested from the Leona, but if Ice panicked a little bit more there, he easily could have used his cleanse and then be really vulnerable for the next few minutes.
And the time for 1-1-3 spent on the bottom side rewarded quite well. Of course, he didn't really have much else to go for, as you noted earlier. Just speed clearing through these camps, resets back to top side. Irrelevant trying to force his wave in. Maybe get a good reset. Good sidestep. Canna's still going all in. He might not even need the ulti. Irrelevant not stacking rage at all, but there comes the Taliyah. Vladi gonna look for the setup here. Irrelevant gonna dodge the flick back, but it's likely gonna die anyway. Takes a bit more time. Good roam from Vladi.
But it's a great roam from Vladi, utilizing this Taliyah champion to get that ulti onto Irrelevant, making sure to give Canna that little bit of help, and we got a pause.
And as always, there will be a little pop-up bottom of your screen to give you more information, and we can maybe give you a little bit more too. So, investigation in progress.
I have no idea for this one. I'm not going to speculate.
That's fine. I don't really know either.
Well, they're ready already, so.
They're ready already.
Ready already.
Callisto becomes... All right, nice. Everyone seems to be in a good mood. It's jovial. I like that Vladi got up there already. Because again, I think that the... whenever I see Lucian, and it's been a while, right? Because usually in more established metas, you have a stronger understanding of where the pick is going to fit in. It's oftentimes one item spike, you know, dominance in some of these fights, using the culling as we saw briefly earlier. How does Vladi fight back against that? Well, it's getting support from Yike, or in this case, getting some push, leveraging it to find that play, to make that gank happen.
Yeah. For me, the question is, when it comes to this Lucian, is like, when do you feel like you're stronger than this Taliyah? Because it hasn't been the early laning phase that much. We've yet to see a lead. And I don't really see it in my head that if Taliyah has one item and Lucian has one item, that he's considerably stronger, apart from if he can get a crazy good culling. But I just feel like Taliyah, so fast on this map, can roam to every side, she can clear waves so fast. Champion is just kind of strong.
Definitely. I mean, a pick that's been looking good no matter who's been piloting it for us in the LEC. And Vladi's certainly one of the most proficient. 1-0-0 has completed that item. It is only the Archangels, so we'll need a bit more time to stack up. Getting it at 10 minutes definitely feels good. Doesn't have any boots, but won't really be punished for it as we're seeing this reassigned. Mid laners going top, both respective bot lanes showing up mid.
It's a standoff here for the Grubs. Both teams wanting to contest.
Taliyah ready to move first, but no Weaver's wall. Ulting from Parus going to get a bit of a slow. Nice knockback going in from Yike. Quick twisted advance into the flash out, and Targamas will retreat as well.
Yike no flash. That feels pretty good from Parus. He just sends it on him, ends up getting his flash, but now it's going to be an extended fight here because they still want to stick around for these Grubs.
Kalista just continuing to poke. It's a bit awkward. Nuke moving into the top side, trying to push in that wave, so he has first move. Battle for mid prio continues.
Nobody really gaining much of an advantage here. Very back and forth.
I think it's really important.
And it's hard for BDS to pull the trigger right now without that Leona ulti.
Ice's ulti is up,
True.
but Caliste, small window of time before that cleanse will be back and available. Scryer's Bloom spotting them, or excuse me, Blue Trinket. BDS slowly zoned away. This is part of the reason that the Maokai is picked still, right? You get so much of that passive vision. Yike just continuing to throw saplings in to keep track. Targamas caught out briefly, trying to burst the Braum, and they'll be successful. Maokai ult used, it will just be the 1-for-1. Parus traded for Targamas.
It's a 1-for-1 support trade, but it looks like Grubs might go over to KC, or they might continue fighting.
Flash away from the flick. Nice placement from 113, or excuse me, from Vladi. 113 caught out. This is big for the side of KC. Giving over 6 Grubs to a Gnar that had started to win side lane would have been pretty devastating. Instead, grabbing their second complete objective, BDS committing a lot of time, a lot of resources, ultimately to walk away essentially empty-handed.
It's an awkward standoff for both teams, as you really lack that full engage for the side of BDS once you've lost that Leona ulti. It's a good Ashe arrow from Ice, but it just means that when Parus goes in here, he's up against this Taliyah, he's up against this Maokai, and they can just bop him, and he's gonna end up falling down as well. And then, just due to the fact that Ice was zoned out in the mid lane with low mana, it's Grubs going over to KC.
Also an awkward commitment from BDS. I mean, we'll give credit to Ice that it was recognizing this very small window of opportunity, but Fate's call was there for Caliste. It looks like he was just out of range.
True.
But if that had been a quarter of a second different, Braum lives. Targamas is able to walk away. So still very close margins. Gold 200 in favor of KC. They're up an objective in the form of the Drake. Nuke now finally with that first item. Maybe this is where he feels more comfortable to start playing really aggressively in the context of that 1v1, especially as Vladi is out of mana. But Yike setting up for another Drake. And if like KC are just, it's incremental, but they're winning out so hard in most of these exchanges.
Yeah, this feels great for KC because there's no real cross map for BDS. They might be able to... No, they can't even take a topside camp as 113 is just continued full clearing towards the bot side. And they can't really pressure this Taliyah either. She's gonna lose one wave, but one wave for Drake, you're very happy with that as KC.
And I think the struggle here is, we saw what BDS were willing to invest in 113. Zyra's let through, we're immediately going to pick it for you. One of the strongest champions in the context of jungle on the patch. But the thing is, no matter how good 113 does individually, the comps are going to be what matters a lot here. And as you highlighted earlier, both sides really kind of want people to walk into them. And even if 113 is ahead, if BDS are behind, if they don't have push in these lanes, they're always going to have to be the ones walking in is irrelevant. Trying to force the play. Nice knockback. Doesn't quite connect the wall for the extra damage. Kind of uncertain where to go. Lots of poke coming in from 113. Looks like it's going to be another finished kill here. While up there, another kill down for Irrelevant.
Fantastically played by 113 there. A great lead, but we're on to another fight.
Lock up there on the Parus. Lots of spear stacking. Kalist taking his time, waiting for things like the Aftershock to stop. Being there, being a part of the equation, but won't be able to finish the kill. They do get the flash out at the very least.
And what an exciting game we have here, as the fighting just doesn't stop. KC are looking for this top tower as well, in trade for Canna's death bot.
Nuke in decent position, has the culling. As long as Vladi's got that flick, he has to be careful. Unraveled Earth already down. Nice dash back, does eat the stun, but doesn't eat any additional damage.
Yeah, and it's a great play from 113 onto Canna. One sad thing for him, though, is that he's not able to take enemy jungle camps. If you see, their blue buff and their Gromp are still up, while Yike and Targamas were able to take all of 113's topside.
Definitely a little bit awkward. Is now in better position to get control of the Herald, but it's still a minute out. And when we looked at these drafts, we thought it would be about mid, but again, topside, where all of the advantage is for BDS. They do now have the feats completed, and more attention to Irrelevant. We mentioned last week in our last cast when they were playing against Rogue, like, this is a guy that was supposed to be, you know, the new hot thing on the block. Had a decent showing on SK. Would he be able to do the same on BDS? It wasn't the case in Winter. But in this game, at least, putting up some pretty good numbers.
Yeah, and I think if I'm seeing this right, I think Nuke is going Wits and second here. Could also be the Triforce, but that is some interesting cooking.
It's probably more likely the Triforce.
Yeah?
Did you...
I mean, he's up against double AP, but I don't remember if Wits and now is double Negatron and Recurvo or if it's Heartbound X.
That's actually a great question. I build that item a lot, and I also do not remember.
They changed it a few times.
I think it's... You know
but
what?
it gives tenacity as well, and I saw the Merc Treads onto 113, and I was thinking, could be.
You know what? This is a time where we're very blessed to have internet access. As the fight's breaking out, Knockup is there. 113's ultimately not going to connect for too much damage. Excellent poke to start the fight, and suddenly KC are running wild. The perfect public execution. I was caught asleep at the wheel, and it seems BDS were too. Losing jungle, losing support in the trade, and now an easy setup onto this Herald.
Wits and be damned. KCR playing great here, able to get a pick onto both Parus and 113, and able to convert that into the Herald. Canna here, getting a little bit poked down by Irrelevant, but he's going to be completely fine. And KCR walking away very happy.
Definitely are. Ultimately getting those kills, able to transition to the objective. Staying close as we get later in the game is a good sign. And you can see 113 does some okay initial damage, but without any of the follow-up there, it's just not enough.
Oh, he's going Kraken Slayer. Ah, I don't like it.
What's that? Just double recurve Negatron.
Yeah.
Okay,
Let's
here we go.
Here. So it's a great wall by Vladi here to catch them off guard. And then the passive proc from Targamas onto 113, and he's just going down. And then Parus is in no man's land. Gets picked up by the Canna's public execution as well.
I mean, beautiful collapse. You highlighted it well. Vladi, despite playing into Lucian, a matchup we weren't expecting, just continuing to have a huge impact in this game. 100% kill participation. And Canna still able to contribute meaningfully despite that deficit he's found himself in. So overall, I mean, damn good look for KC. I think the game has been slightly in their favor for the majority of the game, but the fact that they found that play just very clearly mitigates what Irrelevant is able to do, keeps them in a favorable position.
Now I feel like I should elaborate on why I don't like Kraken Slayer on Lucian. Because I feel like it's hard for him to auto-attack in this game, and we have maybe more action. No, okay, they're just having a little bit of standoff. But I think it's hard for him to auto-attack this game, and the crit scaling on the culling is really high, so once you get crit items on Lucian, you actually do insane damage with it. And I think the culling is his biggest tool this game to actually be useful, but Kraken Slayer provides very little damage to that ultimate.
And we've seen how valuable the culling can be. Again, in the sense of this game being a lot about who has set up first on the objectives. If you have to walk into a Lucian as he's full culling you lose 50% of your HP, that fight is so much harder to take.
Yeah.
Once again, Vladi looking to rinse and repeat.
Barely misses. But it's so hard for BDS to enter here. Parus doesn't really want to face check, and 113 can slowly put up these plants to try to walk into the third Drake, but I think KC are heavily favored if they have the first control. But Irrelevant's onto a flank here.
On the side, managed to find Yike. Interrupt now coming in. Targamas trying to get a bit more space. Vladi going golden. Managing to back up. Plants are huge there. Good poke back. Kalista trying to re-engage. Canna now on the chase. Irrelevant not able to finish that job. It's a scattered fight from BDS. It's not the same for KC. Confidence in calling their targets. Vladi able to walk away.
But it's a great initial retake by BDS. They're able to force KC out, but through a great Yike ultimate, KC are able to collapse onto Irrelevant, take him down, and secure themselves the third dragon. One more Drake for that Chemtech soul.
And whenever we're talking about, hey, but at least it's a Chemtech, you know we're coping hard for the team that's on the receiving end.
That's true, but I say, hey, it's a Chemtech, you know?
I think it's fine. But also, if you're in the position to get 4 Drakes, you're likely in the position where you'll get first setup on Elder.
That's
or
true.
First setup on Baron or Otacon. 113 continues to power clear, continues to hold on the individual gold lead.
Yeah.
But I think you've mentioned it a few times already. The setup in this game for both sides to a certain degree is pretty tough, but it's definitely looked much easier for KC with the power of Yike's ultimate, with the power of Vladi's Weaver's Wall. Whereas for 113, once or twice, he's been able to lay down all of his skills, really catch an individual member out, but he has yet to have that hugely impactful team fight.
And for me, the problem is when you're Parus this game, you might think, oh, he's inting, why is he just dying? It's because when you have to play against as the singular frontline into a Braum Maokai, it's so difficult. You need to find the perfect engage, but also not die in the trade because you need to go in. And it's just, you know, how much can you ask of him?
Definitely tough. Voracious Atacon spawning. Good for the side of BDS. Well, it sucks to concede the GAs. You're behind in terms of the overall objectives, and losing that to KC could be devastating.
Irrelevant has to move to mid here. Could look to maybe get a numbers advantage. Now he's going to move back to bot. Just pushing that in deeper. It's actually quite a big gold lead here piled up for Caliste, as he's 226 CS at 20 minutes. Doing very well for himself.
Yeah, it's tough when you're the Ashe. If the Caliste starts to be able to just out-auto attack you,
yeah,
you're pretty tough. And you mentioned it before, right? The amount of time where you get to auto-attack on your terms for the Lucian, for the Ashe, is pretty small. If KC are playing to their win conditions, playing to the way their composition wants to work.
Yeah.
But the endless battle for mid-prio continues as Vladi, once again...
Ooh, great arrow.
Ripped the knife from ice.
But you can see how Vladi is just continues to make these plays and continues to pressure, which forces Lucian to... Oh!
Getting crazy. Caliste caught out. Flashback out. Cleanse out. Positive trade. Hugely positive trade for the side of BDS, but it does cost 113's flash.
This game's on a knife's edge. I feel like whenever I start talking...
It pauses?
They engage. So maybe if I stop talking, nothing happens.
The hat trick of hopefully, you know, small pauses.
But the thing is, like, you might ask yourself, why are they A-ramming? Because they've been A-ramming now for like 2-3 minutes. And the problem is, if a nuke goes to a side, then Taliyah can just ulti down and they dive, because the tower is so low. But if Vladi goes to a side, then nuke has to match as well, because he can't really pressure mid the same way Vladi can. So Vladi is the one that can kind of choose whatever is going to happen, and Vladi has the playmaking ultimate, so he's going to stay in mid lane.
And so far, it's generally working out well for him up until the flash committal from 113 to try to shift things back in the favor of BDS. As an update, both pauses, this is directly from our wonderful production team, and there have been 3 now, so I assume they mean the 2 most recent have been due to players alt-tabbing on accident, which in a close game, look, we've all been there. I think for the quality of game, it's good that the fat fingers have resulted in alt tabs and not random flashes or press D to dance.
It's a weird thing to accidentally press, though, no?
Alt tab?
It's like the zoomer habit of always
just infinite APM.
No, just like, I gotta check Twitter while I'm walking to lane. You know, like pro players do that.
Gotta change the Netflix show on my second monitor.
That's a Yumi POV.
Need to constantly have 5 sources of media stimulation at the same time.
BDS are setting up this Atakan here. Decide not to go for it.
Splitting.
Want to try to group up on mid here. Caliste has no sums.
Parus.
Barely misses.
Managed to walk out. And again, with the GA Otacon, with the false life buff, we're close enough now to Baron. Not quite close enough, but we will soon be close enough to Baron that you'll be able to carry that buff over. And that feels like the big strength, because again, without either team having 100% reliable, immediate engage options, getting guaranteed value out of that Otacon is a bit difficult.
Okay, so this might sound stupid, but how do you know it's the GA Otacon?
It said earlier. It said,
it said?
Yeah, it said earlier. It said Ravenous.
Because you can, they have a different model, no? But I feel like I never see the difference.
Well, I think the face on the map is slightly different as well. So when it's orange,
then it's the
we're all learning together. When it's orange, it's Hungry Otacon that gives you false life. And then there's Angie Otacon, and Angie Otacon gives you flowers.
And what color is the Angry Otacon? Red?
It's the one that isn't orange.
Oh.
You mean in-game or you mean on the mini-map? Because you play more League of Legends than I do. There's no way you don't know what the other one's color is.
I don't know. I feel like they have the same color. Maybe I'm colorblind.
One is bright red, the other is like black. Maybe it's a navy blue. Like I don't know what the hex code is. I don't know how it's specific. Yeah, it's like a grayish black. I don't know. What? I'm very caught off guard by this question.
Sorry.
It looks different on the
mini-map. Take Soul in 40 seconds and BDS starting off the Otacon here. Ice is caught. Never mind.
Ice zoned away at the very least. Blast cone over. Nuke in a decent position to just lay down the culling, but they pulled away from the objective.
It's desperation for BDS.
But they're
trying to force a fight here.
There's no vision in the pit, and Otacon is parked right outside of it. But instead, the call from KC is set up on the bottom side.
They're giving.
Take advantage. They want Soul. They're not worried about the false life.
Yeah. Nuke is ulting it.
Just wants to complete it, because they know they need to go to the next objective.
10 seconds.
Okay, taking stock. Flashes up. Everyone but 113 on the side of BDS. Maybe they can look Deuce. They have no vision, but they have the false life buff. But again, the nurse to it mean it's not reliable to come back to the fight. If you get locked up, you could be done. Parus trying to buy a bit more space.
Vladi.
KC still on the objective. Vladi looks like he might get caught. Pullbacks there from the face call. Objective getting lower and lower. It looks like it's going to be the soul, and it will be for the side of KC. BDS do they don't want the fight. They've got the false life. They've got an extra life. Knock into the wall. 3 people locked up, and the Braum is there to body block, and it's Canna to turn the fight. Canna and Caliste back to back in the midst of everything as Nuke on the side gets nothing done. Targamas to finish the kill. Members of BDS sent packing.
And it's KC with individual outplays. Send all 5 members of BDS back to base, withdrawing. And KC are looking pretty happy with the Chemtech Soul.
Chemtech Soul at 1,000 gold.
True.
That's a great deal.
Yeah.
And for BDS, you can see the logic. They made the fast play on the objective. They wanted to get something.
Look at Vladi movement here, because it was crazy. He flashes the Ashe arrow. Look at his movement on Leona ult there. Oh, sidesteps it so that he doesn't actually end up getting stunned. So he's able to kite out Nuke. And because Nuke ulted earlier for the Atakan, he doesn't have that crucial tool to take Vladi down. And it's a great engage by Relevant, but it's just not enough. This Ashe is doing nothing. No damage. So she's not able to do anything. They all end up falling.
Yeah. I mean, this is a struggle of a fight. Nuke close to maybe finishing one of those kills. Vladi again with some clutch stopwatches this game. But you can see that as great as that 3-man Gnar looks, between the Braum and the lack of reliable follow-up from BDS, 113 also getting caught out there by Canna's ult, I think it's important to notice. It's just the team fight immediately falls apart.
Yeah. It's just the side of KC on with Taliyah Kalista have so much more damage. And I struggle to see how BDS is able to work through this front line of Braum Maokai.
Yeah. And it's one of those situations where you understand they wanted more physical damage, I guess, in the mid lane. They wanted to split their damage profile, and they felt like this would give them a good mid lane matchup. The downside is, in situations where someone on your team finds that good engage, if you just had a control mage, it'd be so easy to flash in, throw your ult down as Nuke, and know that you've contributed enough to the team. Instead, you're fishing for these angles on flanks. And it's not a style that this version of BDS has been super successful on.
Kalista just started the Ashe here. It's going to be blue trinketed though.
Spotted out. Again, BDS walking in is tough. Targamas buys so much time. Vladi to split them off of the wall. Is a bit early. 8K getting lower. Arrow dodge. Flash out from 113 means there's no way for him to get into the pit. They're just going to grab this. BDS now need to play for the exit. 113 to the back line. Manages to get the ulti down, but he has no Zhonya's, and there's no follow-up. Irrelevant is finally here, but he can't get involved. Instead, he's trying to twist on the Canna, but Canna's already flashed out. KC completely dumpstering BDS. Absolutely styled on. BDS in a desperate maneuver, just lose everything.
KC get everything. It's absolute desperation from 113 as he's suicide engaged to try to make something happen, but it's too little too late. KC already got the Nash, and it's a beautiful flash from Canna to avoid the Gnar ulti, which just results in 4 members going down for BDS.
That was already a desperation look from Irrelevant. I don't think it could have gone worse than that. And credit to BDS for the earlier stages of the game. It was close.
Oh, Irrelevant's dead.
Irrelevant now in trouble. Oh. Very likely dead. Can just bounce here, but the concussive blows makes it easy. Parus on the way.
The minion.
It's catch. It's a ruthless catch. Canna auto to minion. I don't know if it would have killed Relevant, as Locket was also there. But this is where the game feels really, really impossible. Your wave clear is the Coling and Zyra. Not great. And the pick potential and setup we've seen from KC all game long is still very much a threat, doubly so when you have Soul, Baron as well.
Yeah, so I think like how BDS could come back is some miracle Ashe arrow, miracle Leona ult. We'll have a replay here of this Nash fight. So 113 is forced to flash, mostly due to the combination of Ambessa from one side, Maokai from the other. And then after they get this Nash, 113 says, they're not getting away with this, right? So he just decides he wants to start this fight no matter what. Engaging Zyra is definitely not my forte, but oh, we got another fight there.
Wall is there. Ice manages to walk away, not quite pinned by the wall. Irrelevant, keep your eyes on that Mega Gnar, maybe can turn it. Vladi goes golden, timing a little bit off on the solar player. Nuke now finally there. Targamas will find a knock up onto one. Flank coming in from Canna. Ambessa in. Public execution doesn't hit. Now it's a chance for BDS to turn because they got so much time to auto. Coling going down. Canna in the backline. Cutting through everybody. It's a triple for Caliste. Nuke next on the list. The Quadra there as well. KC again. Just obliterating.
Caliste is running them down, and that's an ace for KC. And with the Baron buff, I think they're going to be able to end the game.
I think that's a pretty safe bet. The fights have just been cleaner. And BDS, every time they've tried to throw a punch in late game, it has come back twice as hard to hit them.
Parus is up here. He could try to defend, but actually, Targamas, they're not looking to end, actually. Wow.
No time. It's a 9k gold lead.
Yeah, I mean, it's better safe than sorry, I suppose, but I think could have ended, maybe. But it's just irrelevant here, caught off in the jungle, and there's just so much follow-up with the Taliyah ulti, with the Maokai ult, that KC can choose to run down whoever they want. And beautiful rents here from Caliste to just pick up kill after kill after kill to get that quadrant kill.
And you can see the team coordination from KC around calling the targets, focusing those key members is just better.
Yeah.
Better tools to do it and better execution in those fights. Canna does die, so at least they get that 1 kill back. Slow down the push.
No! Canna took his penta.
Yeah, but you can... if my AD carry in any game I'm playing is ever speaking in that high-pitched of a voice saying penta, I'm pretty sure the game is won.
I had this thing where I started saying penta whenever I got 2 kills.
Well, maybe penta is the angle of the fight kicking off. Vladi already laying down the wall. Coling coming out. Immediate ball damage isn't quite there. Caliste caught out. Locked to the iron. Laure, he's living for an extra second. He's still standing. I don't want to hear anybody talking smack about Hextech. He's still alive, and KC killing everybody once again. BDS managed to find one. Nuke still standing for a brief moment, but all of KC now on the chase. Nuke, how fancy can he get with it? Some extra slow coming in from 113. A flashback safety trying to finish off Targamas, trying to get a bit more damage down. Vladi keeping it going. It just does not matter. KC too far ahead. Caliste still alive, grabbing the Elder.
And KC go 5 for 0 with the Elder, surely being able to end the game now, but you have to feel for BDS. It was so close. If Caliste is just 20 HP lower, he ends up falling, and the fight could look completely different.
KC so dominant in these 5v5s. The investment into that aggressive AP jungle option of the Zyra not paying off for BDS.
It was a great Kalista game from Caliste. I'm very happy with how he played. Overall, both carries from the side of KC, mid and ADC, just maneuvered every team fight beautifully, built up an individual CS lead, were just more impactful.
Certainly were. 13.1k gold lead, dominant finish after what was a relatively quiet early game. KC taking game 1 in this best of 3.